Hi there, welcome to the last of the season Play Up podcast for 2023-24 and a successful season for Pompey. Pompey's best league performance since 2003. They bettered it by one loss and a few points. So obviously we're all still feeling euphoric about our victory and
Euphoric.
winning the league title. Yeah, that was what I meant to try and say. So thanks to, I've got Jamie and Tim who are joining me again, and also for his debut, Reece. Nice you could join us, Reece. Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me along.
Cool. I hope you're far more intelligent than the rest of us when you chip in. So you've got to up the bar with your level of input, please, to help us other three out. So cool. How are we all feeling? I mean, it's been a month, so we're not as excited and giddy as we might have been a month ago. But it is a very, very impressive season by Pompey, from the manager through to the playing staff and obviously the back staff that supported him. So
I
how are you
can't
feeling?
believe we haven't signed 25 players yet. Eisner's out.
give them another week, Jamie. Another week.
Yeah, no,
please.
I'm joking. I'm feeling good. Feeling
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I would be amazed if they've not lined a good fair few players up and they're just waiting for end of 30th of June, I think. Is that when or was it May when the kind of contracts typically finish? And I'll be amazed if they don't announce a few straight off the bat.
I think you could do some contract negotiating from the 1st of June. So yeah, like we got another week or so before people can. I mean, talks are already underway, I expect, but it's just you can't do the contracts until next month, and then the 1st of June is when. The 1st of July is when contracts officially end. But you can. I'm sure we signed players in June last year, but yeah. So exciting to come. We'll talk about that a bit later anyway when we look ahead to next season after we've dissected and celebrated this season. So if we go back to August, what did you? So when we did sign quite a lot of players last season at the start. What did you all think at the start of the season? Because obviously we didn't really know some of the players that were coming in, especially the loan players. I mean, I'd heard of Angerin, but I'd never heard of Robertson. How were you feeling at the start of the season? Positive or I mean, did you think we were going to win the league?
No chance. No, of course not. But I was pleased to see us. We were actually signing players that we would own ourselves for the first time in 6 years. Yeah, that was quite nice. Yeah.
I think it was the fact that actually he'd come in and I think in his first half a season since January, he took the players that Cowley had signed, and I'm pretty sure that half of the season he amassed the same amount of points I think that would have got us into the playoffs. So I think there was a bit of quiet optimism there anyway, because he clearly got more out of the players than the Cowleys ever did. But yeah, I think very rarely would Pompey fans go into a season expecting to win the league, let alone when you've got a rookie who he still had to prove himself, but also the history of the signings has been pretty terrible. But we did pretty much from January, we did sign some pretty decent players with Tower and a few others. So I think they were kind of earning a little bit more respect. But no, I don't think anybody expected to win the league. But I think it was fairly evident early on that potentially we could, especially when we were a few games in.
Yeah, it was good to sort of start the season with a decent amount of signings. There seemed to be an early plan in place. The loan signings were a bit of a revelation. People like Robertson, again, I'd never heard of him either, or Abu Kamara. We kind of love them all now after what we've seen them do for the season. So, as we started to go on that unbeaten run, a few draws early on, were we going to sort of kick on from that and drop off? But we just sort of kept powering through the season, really. So yeah, it was what a brilliant season.
Well, I forgot that Kamara was alone, so that's probably my subconscious wishing that he was our player.
Wish he was ours,
and
yeah.
He hasn't gone. Please make it so. He hasn't gone, but he has. So we got Kamara, Robertson, and Angerin in. And like I said, I'd heard of Angerin, not Robertson. So Angerin was one of the legion of Chelsea players that they keep farming out to Belgian and Austrian clubs and to get them experience, but they never ever get anywhere near the first team. So personally, I was very impressed with the transfer window, but we did seem to be looking at players that had either strong League One experience or ex-Championship players, or in the terms of Scully, because Scully had a lot of championship experience with Wigan, or a couple of up-and-coming players like Sadie. So it was a real mixed bag, and you really didn't know how it was going to go, which way one way or another, really. And we did kind of have a sort of a fairly slow start. I mean, I know we got 2 wins and 2 draws, but we had a couple of dire draws in there to start with, where it looked like Pompey's attacking side wasn't really coming off, and I think there was quite a bit of frustration about our forward play. Even though, continuing, as you said, Reece, from last season, we looked very, very defensively sound and didn't look as if we were going to concede. But conversely, obviously, we didn't look like we were going to score in the season before either. So we had a lot of draws under his early tenure. So I think that was the fear at the start of the season, is that we would draw too many games and not really get up into the top 6. But we motored in through September, so we had much improved results. And probably keyly, we had good results against Barnsley, Derby, and Peterborough. So we beat Barnsley and Derby, and Barnsley and Peterborough, and we drew with Derby away. I don't think we knew then how that they would be our main rivals, because we had teams like Stevenage and Exeter right up the top, doing great things. So it was difficult to work out where teams were going to settle it after sort of 20 games. But to get those early results against what ended up being our good rivals was probably a really good return from our first couple of months.
I think Barnsley was probably one of the game where I thought, actually, we're going to do something this season, because historically we haven't done really well there. I remember going there under Bawley, and I think we had 2 players sent off within about 20 minutes. He put Adam Newton up front, and we lost 6-0 or something like that. But I mean, to be 3-0 up after 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I mean that was almost like the Crystal Palace game under Redknapp, when we were 2-0 down, and we won 3-2, and that's when I kind of went, hang on, there's something going on here. We've actually got something about us, and to go to somewhere like Barnsley, where we have traditionally done quite badly, to win comprehensively. Yes, they came back into it in the second half, but actually we'd done enough in those first 20 minutes, which I think is probably the best I've seen us play under Messino ever since he's been here. Was quite surprising, but actually, there's something about this team. We could do something really good this season.
And that kicked off 5 wins in a row as well. So that was late September, early October was really when we turned the screw as well.
We kept coming from behind as well. For me, that was. That just kept on happening. I thought, well, this team's got some fight, which goes against the last few seasons, that's for sure.
Well, Reading's a great example of that in late October. 2-0 down. We looked an awful side, and then he made a couple of changes at half time, and I think, did we get a goal just before half time and storm back with that great Devlin, almost goal of the season for me, Devlin's. But I think Kamara's shot from outside the box against Cambridge just won it for me. But that team goal with Devlin finishing it off was a terrific goal up at Reading.
I think that was also. I think we went 2-0 down. We could have. I can't remember. We could have gone 3-0 down when their forward had literally an open goal from about 30 yards, and I can't remember whether we got a goal back by then or I think we had got a goal back by then, but he could have put 3-1 up. And then I think we scored just before half time, and then it was game on. Well, they basically crumbled, didn't they? But again, you're right, Jamie. There was definitely some belief, and I think one of the things that was different from this season to last season was, although we were still quite defensive, we were still playing the ball around, teams were going at us, they were on top, they weren't scoring, and then we'd go down the other end and we'd score, and it just completely shifted the kind of momentum of the game, where especially a game like Reading, for example, at home, where they battered us for 30-35 minutes, went out the other end, Paddy Lane scores, and say the confidence just goes, and we did that on quite a few occasions, and as I think, Jamie said earlier, it just shows the resilience in the team, and it got stronger and stronger and stronger throughout the season.
Yeah, great sort of knack of being able to come back from behind and snatch a point and get a win somehow. Also helped when all their fans decided to throw a load of tennis balls on the pitch to disrupt their rhythm, and they were doing quite well as well, I seem to remember.
I still think it was that put us off. I still think that's why we went 2 down in the first place, because everyone was throwing bloody tennis balls at us.
Yeah, it gave us a good reminder to football in general, but also Reading, that we saved our own club. We didn't chuck tennis balls. We chucked money. You chuck money, you don't chuck tennis balls.
We chucked rock and roll.
We did. Yes, Jamie, you very much did. So in December, obviously, so this is one of the early markers for me, the Bolton home game. So Bolton were flying, we were flying. Bishop was injured, obviously. Everyone was really worried. Yengi steps up and produces one of the forward performances of the season, and we beat a very good Bolton side. They missed that sitter. I can't believe they missed that sitter in the first half, and then we went on to win 2-0, and that was a real stake in the ground. You come to our place, no matter who you are, we're going to beat you, and also I think it gave us confidence that if Bishop was out, we could still score goals.
Yeah, definitely, to get a 2-0 win against the sort of self-proclaimed best team in the league at that moment in time as well. I think that was the first time the atmosphere sort of really hit those sort of top heights as well, didn't it? It just, wow, it was an incredible game to be at as well. I hope that came across on the Sky cameras and everything, because it was amazing being there for that.
I was working away that. Sorry, no, go on, Reece.
I was about to say, I mean, I think it's also indicative of the change in that season, because over the last, 3-4 seasons, the crowd has definitely been subdued, and you want the team to do something. And as Tim said, we started to get a bit of momentum, and Yengi kind of in that game proved himself to actually be equally as good as Bishop. I think he's a better player than Bishop, although Bishop will probably finish more. I can't recall Bishop ever scoring or having a shot outside the box. Certainly scoring anyway, but Yengi's definitely got more about him, and he can make things happen, whereas Bishop will just finish something. But we actually had the wide players and the better players in midfield to actually make things happen. And I think this season our performances against the top six was just kind of chalk and cheese compared to last season, because I think previous season before we didn't beat any of the top six teams, I think, whereas this year I don't think we lost to any.
No, we didn't. No.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's down to a variety of reasons, but yes, we definitely started to build that momentum, and Fratton Park certainly got its mojo back that night, and that continued throughout the entire season, because I think the fans believed that we could actually do something this season.
So I was working away, so I didn't make the game that night. So I did watch it on Sky, and yeah, it was amazing. It really was. It was. Yeah, I was just sat there in some hotel room. I'd had a few drinks. Just watching that. Yeah, it was just fabulous. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Has your wife just left you?
She's back again.
She's back again. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She missed the cats, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to football. So like I said, for me, that was a bombastic evening and a real marker. And I think that we nailed our colours to the mast. Said, right, we're the best team in this league. You're going to have to try and come and beat us. But obviously. We had the FA Cup exit against Chesterfield, and also an early EFL Cup exit. So we played our last cup game on the 19th of December for the whole season, which is really early. And
is that when we lost Regan Paul?
We lost him at Chesterfield, yeah. And then that's when Raggett came in. He did his cruciate in there, didn't he, Paul? And bad day all round. We played terrible. We lost a key player, although in the end it didn't really matter. Go out of the FA Cup, where I think everyone was expecting us to go on a run and maybe go to third round and get a really big team. But hey ho. But do you think that coming out the cups early really, really did us a favour?
Yeah, absolutely. It did us a favour. I mean, I thought, if you're going to be really hypercritical of Messino, I thought playing such a strong team in a competition that really, in the big scheme of things, we were probably really unlikely to win it, but also it wasn't our priority. Just maybe, I don't know why he went with a really strong first team, because we didn't play well. We lost Paul. I mean, it was, I guess, good that we had to then go and get McIntyre as a backup, and then Raggett played so well. But I just felt maybe that was just a bit naive, that he could have just rested some of the real key players because we'd start to do so well in the league. But yeah, I didn't mind going out the competitions at all. The biggest annoyance was, say, losing Paul to an injury. So
Uh, So I think for Mousinho, the reason he's playing such a good squad is because, knowing our owners, I imagine there was a lot of pressure from them to get a good cup run, because there's bags of money in a good cup run. So I reckon from he had pressure from above, try and do as well as you can, and that's why he played the squad. Well, I'm delighted they played awful. Yeah, maybe that was the plan all along.
Yeah, I think it certainly helped going out the cups. You sort of think in previous seasons, I mean, as great fun as it was going to the Checker Trade final and all of that, that was the season we kind of also lost out to Sunderland in the playoffs. So yeah, perhaps having all those 3 weeks as you come into winter really sort of helped. All our energy was there to sort of come back in the last minute against different teams and pick up more points that way that we wouldn't have done possibly
But
otherwise.
that's the bizarre thing, isn't it? It didn't. We played terribly. So from Boxing Day onto the 13th of Jan, we had an absolute stinker of. So 5 games, we lost 3 of them, drew 1, and beat Stevenage at home, which is probably the hardest of the 5 games that we played during that period. So we lost to Bristol Rovers, last minute winner by them. A really terrible draw away at Exeter City, and then again another terrible Cheltenham Town visit, which I took my son to his first away game, and it was dire. We were down 2-0 down, and I think quite unlucky not to come back. I think we were knocking on the door to get a draw there, but our first 60 minutes certainly didn't make merit us winning anything. And then Leighton Orient at home 3-0 thumping. So something went on there. It was a really poor 2.5 weeks that we suffered from, and I'm not really sure what happened really.
We can't win all the cups all the time, can we? I mean, I think there's only the League Cup that we're missing now. You've got to give the other team. You think of our poor neighbours down the road there, that never won anything. One FA Cup, is it? I think they've got. We've got to give the others a chance. We've got to give them a fighting chance. Take a year off. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, usually our slump usually is from like December all the way through to May. I mean, usually we have a terrible winter, so to actually limit it to 5 games was refreshing, but also I think showed the quality and the strength in the squad. And some of those games, Leighton Orient, I mean, we got properly battered. But it didn't happen too often, and they did it to a few other teams as well. So especially during the run-in, I'm pretty sure I was looking at other results of the teams around us, and Leighton Orient were coming up and getting a few games. Stevenage were doing really well. So yeah, I was just pleased. It was just a very short 2-3 week kind of lull in performance, and then we kicked on pretty soon after when we got into the new year, and I think that also was helped by the signings we made in the January transfer window, which seemed to be we're in a really good position. Let's get ahead of the game. Let's try and strengthen the squad just in case. And ironically, McIntyre getting injured in his first game as well. I mean, that's probably where we were missing or quite light. But say Raggett came to the fore, but we signed some other really good loans and players, and say kicked on.
Whilst those signings did help, I genuinely, truly, utterly believe that the only reason we turned that poor fortune around was me bitching on Facebook every 5 minutes about it. I think that we can all agree that's what made the squad turn around and pull their socks up.
It is what makes the world turn round, Jamie, as we all know.
I think one of the signings that came in, Moxon came in, didn't he, over January, and I thought that was a really important one. I don't think he possibly would have been expected to play as many games as he did, but he did end up playing quite a few games and looked sort of more than solid, I thought, in there. Looks like a player with a good shot on him as well, so it'd be interesting to see how he does next season.
Yeah, McIntyre was a real shame because we actually gave him 3 weeks to get fit. So he didn't play until Reading, which was on the 17th of February. So, if we signed him in January and gave him every chance to get fit, and then he lasts 43 minutes. So, it's a real shame for him because I think he definitely would have been a mainstay of the team instead of Raggett. But of course, as we've mentioned many times on this podcast, Raggett has just been phenomenal this season. It was it was a really good transfer window to match up with the transfer window that came in the start of the season. So we got Pert Harris, Owen Moxon, as you say, Tim, Callum Lang, and Tom McIntyre. So there was gaps in the squad that they were worried about, and they specifically went out and filled them.
And we also got Macy in, didn't we, as well, as a backup? Although he didn't play, I think I can't remember. Was it Schofield who was the kind of number two? He was playing in some cup games, and I think the general consensus was he wasn't quite good enough, and he was having a really nervy time. So, although thankfully Norris didn't get injured, that they were covering all bases, which showed their belief, but also their investment in the team and looking to push the club forward, which was, considering 12 months ago there was a plane flying over Fratton Park suggesting they didn't have any ambition, certainly proved that thought wrong.
Yeah, and I thought it proved their growth as well as owners. When they came in, they said, we're not big into football. We want to be involved with it more. We're going to make mistakes and we're going to learn. And to me, this season, just boosting the squad, halfway through the term was it just showed that they'd finally at least learned that trick.
But it's the backroom staff appointments that are really crucial, as well as the playing stuff. We're highlighting the players, but to get Rich Hughes in a couple of years ago, and also the CEO before that, they identified that was just as weak in the club as it was on the pitch, and that's what's given us the foundation to do the things that we've done over the last 18 months in terms of recruitment and things like that. It started with, as Reece said earlier, the January transfer window where we brought Towler in. That was the switch to concentrating on young, hungry pros who've not quite made it at maybe Championship or Premiership level, and then they go out and give them a couple of years here and see if we can grow them into someone who can play at a really top level. So we've got 4 centre backs for next season. I don't think we're going to need any more. So fingers crossed that it's Shaughnessy, Paul, Towler, and McIntyre. So Shaughnessy is. I don't know if he's comfortable playing on the left, but I think he wants to play him more on the right, and certainly Paul's definitely a right-footed centre back. So that's one area we don't have to worry about for next year, I don't think.
I think the more young, hungry pros we get, the better, personally.
Absolutely. I knew you were grinning over that one, Jamie.
I think also the thing is these are good players in their team, and they're clearly wanting to progress. And in League One, Pompey are undoubtedly a big draw. You can't deny that. And Paddy Lane came from Fleetwood, I think. Was it Fleetwood? I think
Yep.
He came from. Again, star young player, same as Moxon, same as McIntyre. Although I think he was on quite big wages. So, but yeah, we have totally changed the way we buy players, and the loans this season complemented and enhanced the squad rather than make the squad, which is what it was like under the Cowley. So, and I'm sure, I can't think of considering all the players we've signed, including Lang as well. I'm sure they're going to get better and better, especially with, as you said, Scott, with good professional people who know and are trusted, I think, to do their jobs, are just going to make the club better. And I think overall, I think this is probably the first time I can remember where pretty much everybody at the club was all pulling in the right direction. There's always been a section of fans who weren't happy with this, and maybe the players weren't happy with the manager and things. But this season, it all aligned, and I don't think that was a fluke. I just think the Isles are hugely professional. They don't talk a lot, but they talk with their actions, and over the years they've probably learnt a lot. But they've definitely got it right this season. It'll be just very interesting to see what happens next season.
Right, so we get January. So we had 5 winnable games on paper in February, and we were being breathed down the neck by our rivals in Derby, Bolton, Barnsley, and at the time Blackpool. and Peterborough. So it was important that we took it by the scruff of the neck and won these 5 games, and we went on a terrific run, beating Carlisle away 1-0, which is a tough game, but we managed to get over the line. Cambridge United at home, which was a terrific game. Reading at home again, which is another terrific game. Lockyer's injury and sending off, which is a absolute travesty, and then Reading mirroring their home game where they absolutely crumbled and gave us a goal as well. So ending with our usual struggle at Charlton, but getting a 0-0 draw. So that really pushed us on into the last 2 or 3 months, because we really managed to stretch our lead and put the pressure on the teams that had at that time lots of games in hand on us.
It looked a bit. I mean, I've mentioned on the podcast before. I was nervous about the running. It's just we had so many just top tier teams for us to play, and we just really just upped our game. It was like I was expecting the pressure to get to us, and for us to capitulate possibly at least a little bit here and there, but it just seemed to spur us on, and we just seemed to get better and better. It was well, apart from obviously the hangover game, but we'd won the league by then. So yeah, amazing, yeah, truly fabulous end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of adding on to that. I mean, I think, yeah, by that time, I think we had played pretty much most of the teams, and we had lost 3 times, maybe something like that, and we weren't drawing as many, which I think was the key thing. Although winning 1-0 away, it's a win, and that's all you needed to do. And those games are really difficult when you got teams fighting for their life at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I think in hindsight, that Charlton game was actually a damn good result when you look back at what they were doing and actually their performance and their home performance. They were a team on the up, and say to get a draw. Although I think a lot of fans are disappointed that we didn't win. In hindsight, that was not a bad result at all.
Plus, they always beat us. They're a bogey side for us. For us to get a draw was like winning the World Cup.
I think that was probably quite important for a lot of fans as well, because, like you say, we do seem to have such a terrible record against Charlton. So, kind of, I know it's only a 0-0 draw, but I think sort of psychologically that did everybody a load of good, really. And like you say, the 1-0 win at Carlisle, these are sort of games that you can easily slip up in when there's teams fighting for it. So,
what I was going to move on to was, I mean, we matched March with our February, and so in March we continued after Charlton to beat Oxford at home, draw with Blackpool away, which I think was again a good result, because although they were struggling a little bit, we wanted revenge for the thumping at home, but we didn't get it. And then obviously wins against Burton Albion, but obviously the probably the most important result in March, and really sort of made me believe that we could get promoted and win the league, was the away win at Peterborough. Did you go, Reece?
No, I didn't. I can't remember why. I think Paul Dollymore used my season ticket to go along. So
you were probably on holiday.
But yeah, I did watch it, and it was again mightily impressive performance. Strong at the back, didn't concede, and I think just kind of got on top of the game. And eventually, as time went on, you kind of knew something could happen. And coinciding with Gavin White's slight improvement of form, first assist I think of the season, and an absolutely belting goal. And I think, it was just another marker of we're going to do something really special. And when you're onto a good thing when the manager's blaming the ticket office for potentially contributing towards losing the game because they sold too many tickets. So it was a great game, great performance, probably great day out, and another marker in the sand of we're probably likely to win the league.
So obviously Yengi, as you said, Jamie, was the goal scorer, and proved that he can really go on and match Bishop as well as it was Reece, wasn't it? Sorry, another senior moment. But no, I mean, but we changed the formation with sort of 20 odd minutes to go. I think we'd held them at bay long enough, and they'd had maybe a couple of half chances, but nothing that really made us too worried. And when Yengi came on to support Bishop, I think I think we made that. We had that breakaway goal, and the way he accelerated past that player and smashed it into the corner was just absolutely brilliant. Certainly, I was off my sofa, and I can't jump too high as my head go through the caravan roof. So it was a hairy moment.
And that was off the back of that Oxford game as well, which for me was the game of the season. When we beat Oxford at home, that atmosphere at Fratton Park was, it was almost like Milan again. It was I've not seen the atmosphere since that era. Even that season we went up under Cookie, there wasn't quite that, and it was amazing. Yeah, absolutely wonderful night.
We were just chanting for the last 10 minutes, weren't we, in that Oxford game? Certainly my son's eyes were wide and couldn't believe what he was seeing, because I think that was the constant Allen Balls Blue and White Army back to those days. We were just literally chanting and chanting and chanting so we could get the team over the line.
But I think also in that game, that was one of the, just shows what a good footballing brain Messino's got, because everybody, when we were, I think it was after 60 minutes, everybody's going, right, let's bring some attacking players on, and then he brought Sadie on. I think the whole ground just kind of went, what is this guy doing? Why is he doing kind of somebody who kind of holds the ball up rather than somebody that goes for it? And then a few minutes later, he's banging in the winning goal, and it's like, oh yeah, that's why you're in the dugout and we're sitting here watching the fans. But he did get a lot of decisions right, and I think that's just shows the quality of the guy, and say what a good appointment he was.
Clubber Lang's goal was before that was pretty sexy as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, an early start for us with the Lang goal. But I mean that Peterborough win and the Burton win, and then we go to a match that everybody was nervous about, the Derby County at home on the Tuesday night, the rearranged game, again on TV. We're always shit on TV, aren't we? Basically, and we weren't quite as shit as we normally are, and managed to get a 2-2 draw. I said before on one of the pods that I thought we were lucky in that game. I think we were, for most of the match, we were outplayed by Derby.
I'd agree with that.
And if it wasn't for a wonder strike by Moxon, we would have lost that game. I don't think we were looking to come back into it. It took something spectacular or unusual or lucky to get us back into the game, and thankfully it was something spectacular.
Yeah, they were both good goals, weren't they? Was it Kamara got the other one, I think?
Yeah, the back heel. The back heel from Bishop.
Oh yes, what an assist. Just absolutely cracking game that. Yeah,
there wasn't one of those games where we had loads of chances, but it just again proved the quality of the squad. It was a great strike, and one of the frustrations I've always had with Pompey teams over the years, I expect a professional football player to be able to hit a ball fairly half in 20-25 yards and it hit the target, and we just don't seem to do that very often, but we certainly did it a lot more this season. And it was a quality goal. Did the performance deserve a point? Probably not, but the quality and the just sheer doggedness of we're not going to give it up, and it was under the floodlights as well, and we knew it was against a close rival. Saw us get a not a positive result, but a good result on paper, especially in front of the Sky cameras.
It's funny you said about passing as well. I haven't looked at the stats, but for me, one of our best passers I thought was Rafferty. I thought he was laying on some real pinpoint stuff every now and then. I mean, I'll probably end up looking at the stats and it'll be all over the show. But so I was really surprised when he was on the list to go, because I thought he was quite a positive force at the back there. Are you working, Tim? Are you
back with us?
I think I'm back in the room. Sorry, I missed all of that.
That's all right. We gave you every chance to come back, mate, but we're glad you're back. So we were just talking about the Derby game and possibly how undeserved the draw was. So what was your view?
Well, possibly, but I think I remember saying at the time and everything, it's kind of, that's what you get for having those battling qualities, though. That seems to be my thing that I'm just going to take away from this season, is that, you can't be brilliant all the time. There's times when we weren't brilliant and we didn't win, but then there's times like that when you manage to somehow get something out of a game. So I know I did catch you just talking very briefly about the Oxford game. I just wanted to quickly second that as well and go, what an amazing atmosphere that was. But yeah, I think there's times when you're not going to play brilliantly all the time, but you get something out of it. And sort of digging in against those teams that we're fighting at the top with is, sort of season-defining moments, really.
So so we get the draw against Derby County, and we are seeing the teams who have the games in hand falling away, especially Barnsley. At the time, I thought Barnsley were our biggest threat for the title. Look, I think we did a pod where we all did our little numbers. So Jeff did his and I did mine, and we all tried to convince you that we were definitely nailed on for promotion, Jamie, and you wouldn't have it. So
well, we didn't win all those games, did we?
No, we didn't.
There's a couple of draws in there as well.
But that's the point. Barnsley, who were looking the most threatening, just fizzled out, and ended up not even getting into the playoff final. So, again, the Bolton Wanderers game away on the 13th of April. That was another one where we just had to get the job done. Don't lose. Get a draw. Get another point. Take another game out of the equation. And then we were looking at the Barnsley home game to at least secure promotion, if not the title as well.
Yeah, what a performance that Bolton was. I mean, they had chances, but again, just didn't score when they were on top, and we got an early goal. And I think as Pompey fans, we're always sceptical because we've got every right to be, but I think you don't realise that other teams are in a similar situation. They probably got more pressure than maybe they're trying to play catch up, and actually teams very rarely win every single game, and then to take that into the Barnsley game, it was a phenomenal night, and we all know how that ended. But I think we all hoped maybe we would have got the draw to get promotion and then actually win the championship on the following Saturday against Wigan. But you ain't going to complain. You want to get the job done, and what a game it was. And we looked a bit out of sorts with that one, and we looked like Barnsley were going to beat us or maybe get a draw. But yeah, maybe it was just our season, everything aligned, and 89th minute winner, and place goes mental.
Couldn't have been better, could it? The scoreline. We could have won that 6-0 and it still wouldn't have been anywhere near as much fun as getting that 89th minute winner. That was just fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was a hell of a night. I mean, I'm just delighted my son was there because we've all been there as young men and kids, and you see something as amazing and exciting as that, and to get on the pitch at the end and all the rest of it, and there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids there that shouldn't have been there because they had school in the morning, and everyone was on the pitch till 11 at night, and it was just terrific. It will be one of those legendary Pompey nights, and I said that to John Massigno at the do we went to and spoke to him. I said to him, you could be one of these people who are celebrated in 15, 20 years time and up on a wall of fame. And he said, and typically in his style, he was fairly straight bat about it and said, but I've got to do the job first. So, it was a stupidly exciting end to a season, and it is no wonder that we were absolutely awful against Wigan. I'm sure the players, what we were singing, Paddy Lane is still on the piss, but I'm sure half the team were until at least Thursday. So it was a romantic and poetic end to the season, and for us to clinch the title and promotion on the same night against one of our rivals was a terrific night, and one a lot of people won't forget. So just brilliant night, really.
Yeah, it was brilliant being on the pitch singing "We Are the Champions" on it. That actually little tear to the eye that was when we were doing that. Thoroughly enjoyed that.
I was actually looking at the date because it was April the 16th, and I came down with COVID or like really badly the next day, and I had such a hangover. And I think I said to the wife yesterday, I think I'm finally recovering from it now. So when you asked me earlier on, how are you getting on? I was like, you know what? So I've had a hangover since that night, pretty much.
For 6 weeks, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, good fun in the pubs, wasn't it, that evening?
Oh yeah.
Just the constant singing of Pompey songs all night in different pubs with just everybody shouting out all the words to it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and after the game on the Saturday as well, was it Wigan? Yeah, after the Wigan game, even losing, the just the atmosphere on Albert Road and just everywhere was just amazing. It was really, really good. Yeah.
I missed all that, but I don't mind because I was drunk for the whole of the FA Cup weekend. That was my be stupid for 72 hours for an FA Cup win, and so I had to look after my son, obviously. But it's a different experience when you're in that kind of situation. Would I have liked to have been out on the piss all night? Absolutely. So I mean, all in all, an absolutely terrific season. Terrific players, terrific goals, terrific games. So let's sort of dissect it a little bit more in terms of the players. So going back to before the season, we got Kamara, Robertson, Angerin on loan, and then we bought in Devlin, Scully, Yengi, Sadie, Shocknessy, Paul, Stevenson, and White. So I suppose there's obvious standout players from there that did well. What do we make of Scully and White, who were brought in as kind of marquee signings? Where? I mean, I know Scully. I don't. Both of them were injured, but they definitely didn't set the world alight when they started the season, did they?
A bit disappointing, if anything, really, weren't they? I suppose we're expecting them to be the stars. Scully looked all right. I thought in the first couple of games, I don't think he played too many at the start of the season, but it kind of looked okay, but nothing more than that. And White didn't do a lot until a few sort of pretty decent performances towards the end of the season. But again, still not kind of anywhere near like what the standard was we thought they were going to bring to the team. So, it's sort of very interesting to see that the stars came from other places, really. But I guess that's probably some really good preparation in terms of bringing in a squad and plenty of players. It wasn't all the eggs in one basket. A couple of players didn't necessarily perform, but there are other players there waiting to come in, and they took the chance and never gave them the chance back, really.
No.
They're both wingers, aren't they? I always get mixed up which one was left and which one was right.
I think they are
Scully
as well.
started on the left, didn't he? But
sorry,
I don't think they knew either, Jamie. To be honest,
But I mean, maybe they just got on the training ground. They saw Kamara playing after their big Potato signings and went, "Oh my God, how are we going to keep up with that?" And that was just the end of their egos. And
I think it'd be interesting to see what happens this season. I mean, White. I think he was known by Messino because he played with him before and he obviously knew his qualities and was keen to sign him. I mean, Scully, I think, is still only 24, so he's actually quite a young player.
Really?
But
he looks a lot older than that. He must have had a hard paper round.
I know. I'm surprised myself, but I think it just shows how good the other players were. But you've got to say that they were really disappointing, and they just didn't get going in the season. Other players were clearly performing better, but it will be interesting to see what happens with them over the summer. And I mean, White just hasn't clicked. I think Messino said there might have been some off the field family stuff going on. I don't know, but whatever it was, they were hugely disappointing. But we were just it was just good that other people could fill their shoes.
Yeah, to back you up on that, I give, I don't want to bring anyone's personal affairs on, into the public on the here and now, but from the stuff I've heard in the background about what has happened to to Scully this season, I think I think if anyone has stuff in their personal life, it affects your job. And at the end of the day, as much as these boys love their jobs and have got the best jobs in the world, we're all still human beings, and and so hopefully we'll like say, young man, hopefully we'll get to see the best of him in the future.
So Tim, I mean, who would you say was the most improved player over the season out of that? Just the new signings. I mean, Lane has obviously really excelled this season, but he was a signing previous to last summer. Who out of those would you say was the most obvious candidate for most improved?
Of all the players that came in at the start of the season?
Yep.
I'd probably have to say Shognessy, really. I mean, he came in as somebody that I didn't really know much about. I might have seen the name before in a team sheet for somebody else, but probably not. So yeah, didn't quite necessarily know what to expect. I think Paul came in with obviously a bigger reputation, was superb, and unfortunately got injured. But I think for someone like Conor Shaughnessy, he just was consistently superb all season long, and as we said earlier, had that nice knack for getting a goal, but just when we needed one the most as well. So I think that there's a lot of candidates for that. Our loan signings were all good as well. But yeah, I think probably if Shaughnessy doesn't start next season, well, it can only be just down to the fact that if Paul and McIntyre are back from injury and just looking so incredible that he can't get in, but he's got to be there, surely. For me, anyway.
I would think so, yeah. I would think so. See, that's a really interesting answer, because I would have gone it was either Yengi or Sadie, to be honest. I mean, obviously Yengi got a goal early, but Sadie, as I think it was you alluded to, Jamie, there was a couple. I think he struggled in the first part of the season, but second part of the season from January onwards, I think he was terrific whenever he was used, either from a starting position or off the bench. More often off the bench for the last half an hour, to either give us a bit more drive and impetus, or to help us defend a lead. And and Yengi, as we've said before, when he was called upon, he came in and gave some terrific performances. He wasn't getting a go in the side very often, and would sometimes only come on for a 10-minute sub appearance when Bishop was back from injury. But when we put him in when we needed him, and Mousinho decided to rotate them, which was in the end a good thing. And put the pressure on one or the other to once you're in, you've got to perform. You've got 90 minutes to really give us a good performance. But I think Sadie, for me, has from when we first saw him, is a completely different player. And I think that would be my vote for most improved player.
I think that's the second time tonight that you've credited me with something Reece actually said. So
Okay.
I think we should invite Reece more often, because I'm
You're getting all the glory.
Yeah, I'm getting all the glory. You keep coming, mate. You're welcome back anytime. But for me, I'd have to say probably not an obvious choice. I'd say Kamara, because at the very start of the season he was under flack. The fans were having a go at him. And, like, again, these are jobs. They're all human beings. Someone has a go at you in your job. Sometimes you stick your fingers up, and we've all seen plenty of players in the past that have done that. That you're not appreciated by the fans. Well, sod the fans. Then I'll go. Go and play somewhere else. Kamara, for me, he absolute workhorse, just completely turned it around. I don't know how much of that was moving over to the right hand side of the pitch. But yeah, for me, most improved player. And just an absolute starlet. Real pleasure to watch him play this season.
Reece, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if I say about Kamara, I'm pretty sure he had never played a first team game until he came to Pompey. So I think that was a real baptism of fire. Plus also, I think he's still only like 18. So I think to echo what Jamie said, for most improved player, I think I can't think of anybody else who considering those 2 points has improved. But I'd just like to put a shout out to Will Norris, because he came in and he totally changed the way we play, because he acted as that kind of sweeper goalkeeper that a lot of the top teams play, and generally he was pretty cool. His distribution was good. It wasn't, I wouldn't say great, brilliant, but a couple of times he did really just chip the ball out to the wing. He was just so calm. And I think when you got somebody like that at the back, it just makes your whole defence calm as well. They feel confident passing the ball around. And when Macy came in, there were calls to get Macy in because he's better. But I think Will Norris had a fantastic season. He made the odd mistake against Lincoln away at the end, where his cool passing kind of got undone. But I think he also made some absolutely phenomenal saves. I do remember one, and I can't remember, was it against Peterborough at the Milton end, and he did a kind of a bit of a fist pump because it was just such a brilliant save. And I think he certainly maybe didn't improve as much, but I think he was a really important signing and a consistent one throughout the season, who contributed a lot towards the success.
Yeah, another good shout. I think. I mean, that having that super keeper allows your team to play further up the pitch, doesn't it? Because you're not, you're not relying on your central defenders to basically, pass the ball between each other. If you've got that pivot at the back with the goalkeeper, then that allows your whole team to push up. So that gave us the extra momentum. Yeah, all good shouts.
Interesting stat there. Sorry to interrupt you, Scott.
No, that's
Interesting
right.
stat from something Reece just said. So Abu Kamara signed for us on the 19th of July, 18 years old, and he's now had 2 birthdays since. It was his birthday 2 days later after he signed for us. He was 19, and he's had another one since. Well, he will have another. Yeah, so he's 20 now.
Blimey, he's piling the years on. Is it playing for Pompey that makes you age so quick?
Must be, yeah.
He's 2 years older than when he joined us. That's amazing. That's it. Jamie, you're always good with the stats, mate. Thanks for bringing that one up. So we've had to get. I mean, this is where we do the obituaries, I guess, for Raggett and Rafferty. I think we all knew that those decisions were going to be made. I don't think it was a surprise to anyone, least of all to the players. I would have thought, because as good as Rafferty, as good as Raggett was, and he was good, and I'm shocked he wasn't in the England squad when it was announced the other day. I think I said this in one of the pods during the season. He is at his level, and he excels at this level. He's not going to go into Championship and excel. And we did speculate whether he would be a Primus and just keep going up the leagues and just excel. But I don't think that Raggett's got the same attributes as Limvoy. So absolutely terrific season for him. An amazing, 290 appearances, I think, over 5 years. And, apart from his really unusual running style, I think he's been a very consistent performer for us. But like I say, I think he's at his level, and so is Rafferty at his stage of the career. So no surprise those two went. We've offered we haven't taken up options, but offered reduced contracts, I presume, to Morel and Swanson. And Swanson disappointed in me and surprised me because I thought we would really want to keep him. Do you think the two of them will stay?
I don't think we've offered Swanson reduced. We have the offer to renew for 1 year, but we want to keep him for longer. So we've offered him a 3-year contract. Yeah, and I certainly hope so. Yeah.
Has he signed that? Because my understanding was that the reason why they didn't get offered the deal was because the contracts were that they would be paid at a certain higher level, and the club didn't want to pay that higher level. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I hope Swanson stays because Rafferty's gone. I was a bit surprised Rafferty went. I wasn't surprised that Raggett went. I think he knew the writing was on the wall when Paul came in, and then when Paul got injured, McIntyre came in. But I mean, the way he performed, it was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Didn't moan, got his head down, and consummate professional. So I wasn't surprised to see him go. Was a little bit surprised to see Rafferty go, but my guess is that we've got somebody else lined up who's going to who's better, is going to suit us more. I'd like to see Swanson stay because he's still quite young. I think he's still 22, 23. So he looks pretty decent. Morel, I'm not hugely bothered about, but I mean, in the Championship, I think you need ball players. So if he can keep that temperament under control, then...
Well, that's a good point, isn't it? I mean, he was always a liability. Once he was on one card, he rarely didn't get a second, did he? So, and you can't afford to have players who are likely to get 3 or 4 red cards a season.
I mean, also there were stupid fouls as well. It just looked like the whole red mist descended. He lost control. He would get frustrated, and that was it. So, it's disappointing. Who's going to be in the middle when we start? I mean, Pack hasn't agreed a new deal yet, but we've offered him one. So, but I think, I'll hope maybe they do stay, but probably Swanson more than Morel.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I did hear a funny one that when the lads were out in Vegas, Swanson put up a post saying anyone need a right back, and then and he put it up in the evening, presumably when drunk, and deleted it first thing the next morning.
Perhaps it was on Rafferty's behalf. It could have been.
Maybe.
I think Paul can play right back as a defensive right back. Certainly not as a wing back, but certainly as a defensive right back, Paul can play there. So that's a little bit of cover. Maybe, who knows?
Well,
look at
Rafferty's
as I've said before. I think Rafferty's got he's got a job already. Yeah, but as I've said before about Swanson, he used to be a wonder kid in Football Manager, so he's he's always been on the radar anyway. So for that reason alone, I want him to stay and develop and go on and do well. On for Raggett, so. The thing is for me is like, and again, right, I'm not a manager, but I love Football Manager, and so therefore I'm obviously going to transition into Real Manager really easily. I like to have 5 defenders in the whole squad, because if 2 get injured, then you need a backup, and as you say, you've always got 4 if 1 gets injured. I always like to have 5 in the whole entire squad. So for that reason alone, like maybe Raggett was offered that and he went, look, I want to be playing every week. I'm in the prime of my life. And I imagine people are going to be throwing money at him given the season he's just had with us. So it might be better for him to go. But I would have kept him purely on if you're willing to be a backup player. I cannot think of a better backup player and a better ambassador for the younger players. His work rate and his ethics. I'd have kept him for that reason alone. Yeah, so I'm sorry to see him go. And as I said earlier on, I thought Rafferty hit some amazing long passes with pinpoint accuracy, and I was very surprised to see him go. But again, you've got to be ruthless when we've got to stay in the Championship, and and so we've got to let places go somewhere along. I agree with you too, Reece. I'd have probably used Morel as an excuse to try and buy some amazing world-class midfielder. But we probably haven't got the budget for that. But so that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think a bit disappointed to see Raggett go as well. Really, I think maybe it might be sentimental though, just wanting to keep him there after the season we've had. And again, I was genuinely surprised to see Rafferty going. I think he'll probably have another brilliant season for Rotherham next year. And I think as well, it's possibly that thing of going, well, with Swanson, he's a good player, but he's been injured a lot since he's been with us as well. So going to sort of, after the last 3 transfer windows, sort of trust the process that the club are going through and think that they've probably had targets lined up for months. And I guess we'll find out who they are in due course.
Well, looking at that central midfield area, we've still got Lowry. But I'm really sceptical as about whether he'll actually play or not. I think he's one of those who will disappear over the summer as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can't recall him doing much apart from running around and actually affecting a game. I mean, has he scored? Has he got an assist? I mean, he just seems to be another one of those. Yeah, he's got a great song, but he just seems to be another one of those players that fans love because he runs around a lot. And at Championship level, that's not enough. So I'll be amazed if he's still here next season.
Yeah,
it's like a modern day Steve Wigley.
Yeah, Wigley only used to run in straight lines. Wigley used to only run in straight lines. At least Lowry runs around a bit in the middle as well. We're going to wrap this up. We've done 50 good minutes apart from Tim's disappearing. So we'll wrap this up for a slightly bumper episode. But what are your thoughts for next season? I'm cautiously optimistic because bearing in mind as we discussed what's happened over the last 18 months in recruitment, it's no accident that our recruitment has been pretty good, and I would hope that would continue. So, like you say, if it's not next week, Jamie, it'd be the week after that we sign 12 players. So, what do you think for next season? Obviously, I think we've got to try and keep our defensive solidity, but are we going to be as resilient as we were in League One?
It's a massive step up, and there's part of me that wants to think that we've got the nucleus to do an Ipswich, but we haven't. I don't think we've got some good players, but I don't know. I don't think we've quite got that. I mean, maybe if we sign Kamara, again, unlikely, especially now. Norwich is staying, so I think. Yeah, I just think it's going to be struggle for us. It's not going to be anywhere near as enjoyable. I've just renewed my season ticket yesterday, £480 and 50 of your finest English pence, and I thought to myself, "There's no way I'm going to get as much value out of next year's as I have the one gone." You never know. We might surprise something. I'm hoping. I think we'll stay up. I think we'll definitely stay up. I think simply because of the management and the infrastructure that we've got in place. I don't think we're not going to take this opportunity lightly. So, but I can see us, but possibly getting something, sniffing the playoffs, but probably not making it and building on that season. Yeah, that's me.
Reece,
It's really
Tim?
difficult to say, isn't it? It's just really difficult to say because again, this time last year, didn't know what to expect after a dismal first half of the season. Cowley went, Mousinho came in, it started picking up, but so much work to do, and then we had so many signings and so many sort of good things happen, good loan signings and everything that I don't think we've got much of a clue exactly how we're going to start the season. Yeah, okay, we've still got a squad of players there, but there could be all sorts of people coming in and players to go out yet, and many changes to happen for it. But you never know. I mean, why not do in Ipswich? Except do it better or go up as champions.
I hope so, but
I'll make it 18 players we've got on contract with obviously 3 or 4 looking to extend contracts or sign new ones. So even if a couple go, we've got 20 signed professionals. So there's not an awful lot of room, is there, really, if you're thinking about it? So
no.
I as we've just discussed with Larry, I can't see, I could see some players going as well.
And in order to win the championship or to go up in the championship, you need Premiership quality players. I'm not, I don't want to speak negatively about any of our players, but how many of them are Premiership quality? Potentially some, but certainly not all.
You would say that about Ipswich, though, wouldn't you? But I think going back
Yeah,
to
very true.
the question, Scott. I mean, I think cautiously optimistic is a good shout. I'm quietly optimistic. I mean, it's a bit hard to say now because you haven't seen the signings that come in, but I do remember when I attended the presentation at the Guildhall and Eisner was selling his vision to the club. He did say that if we got into the championship, his words were alongside investment would be upped to something significant. So I think we've got to see where what players come in. I think might be one or two who leave, but I think we've got enough room there to get some real quality in there. My big concern is we lack pace, and I think in the championship, I think you could that you could get found out with that. So, but then again, we're closer to the Premiership. You might get some very young players. I remember Rotherham a couple of seasons ago when they came down to Fratton Park. They had 2, I think, Arsenal youngsters on the wing, and they were absolutely like lightning. And I think that's something we really do need to strengthen. But actually, the chances of doing an Ipswich are very, very remote. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but we have got a good nucleus of the team there, and I think it all depends on who they bring in. But I think we've got some. We definitely need to improve, and I think we will. I agree with Jamie and Tim. I think we'll stay up, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're knocking on the door or getting into the championship or the playoffs rather, because I think we've just got a really good infrastructure, management, recruitment, and of course set of players. But we'll just have to see over the next when we have one of these at the start of the season when I expect a lot of the signings will be done. I'll be amazed if we sign players once the season has started unless they're loans. So I think you've got every reason to be optimistic. We're just not looking forward to more games being moved away from 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon.
Oh yeah, there is that with the Sky deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna check Championship. So there are similar teams that we can aspire to be like. So if you look at some of those mid-table teams, there are teams in there who we would equivalate the size of our club and the ambition of our club with. So, for example, I mean, obviously I think the obvious ones that step out to me are Queens Park Rangers, Millwall, Bristol City, Preston North End. They are clubs that traditionally have been of a similar stature to Pompey, and they've all been in the Championship for quite some time. Apart from Preston and Bristol City, they've all some of them have recently been in the Premier League, and you look at Coventry this season. They haven't really got bags of money. They haven't really got a stadium, to be honest. But they got into they had got into an FA Cup late round and ended up just 10 points away from being in the playoffs. So there are a lot of, I wouldn't say average teams, but there are a lot of teams that we should aspire to match in the Championship. There are probably 10 teams that I think we could have a very good chance of beating at home. And if you win 10, 15 games, that gives you 45 points, and then that's almost enough to keep you up. You need to get it's 50 points in League One to stay up, and it's probably 60 points to stay up comfortably in the Championship. So I think there are a lot of beatable players. Obviously, the teams that come down from the Premiership, and if the Scummers don't go up, they'll be very, very tough games because they're a really good side. With a very good up and coming manager like Mousinho, and also they've retained some of their quality from the Premiership. Whether they do over the summer or not, I don't know. But so I think there are. I think 16th to 12th is what we should aim for, and I think we could do that. Quite confidently if we can keep our defensive solidity. So yeah, I'm excited and looking forward to it, and can't wait to see what caliber of player would come in. I would love Robertson to come back. Absolutely love Robertson to come back. I had a massive man crush on him for the first part of the season. And thought he's just a terrific player. I mean, that shoulder pass he did at Reading away was just, my chin hit the floor when he did that Maradona shoulder pass down the line. I just thought that was something I'd not seen from a Pompey player since Brozanecki, and I was absolutely excited by that. So guys, thank you so much for joining me again. It's been a terrific season. And I think we encapsulated it really well over that last hour and a bit. And thank you very much for joining me. And Reece, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join us again when we start up again in late July or something.
Guys, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and absolutely, I'd love to come along to a few more in the future.
Excellent. Looking forward to it, mate. And Jamie and Tim, thanks for being my mainstays this season. You really it was a difficult start for the podcast, but we've managed to get out several, I think really good episodes and achieve what I wanted to do with starting this up. And we'll reconvene sort of mid to late July after England have won the Euros, and then we've got something else to celebrate as well as Pompey winning the league. So have a great summer, guys. Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, nice
Cheers,
one, guys. Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.
Cheers.
See you later.
Thanks. So, yeah, like I said, we'll be back in mid to late July. I hope everyone who listens has a great summer, enjoys the Euros, and we'll see you in about 8 or 9 weeks' time. Cheers then. Take care.